Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Cloud Underground podcast. Thanks, everyone, for being here with me today. This is our first episode, obviously, in our new format, which is going to be we're going to try live streaming the podcast. Oh, I'm going to adjust my levels a little bit. I'm coming off real loud. Anyway, we're going to start live streaming just because it's one of the things about being like a business owner or a CEO, again, I'm CEO of the Cloud Underground, Laura Riley. And one of the things about running your own business is you have to kind of figure out what works for you and what doesn't. You might have worked in a traditional job where your job roles were like very well, set out for you and you just did the same task over and over again or whatever, however it may be. When you start your own company, you have to kind of create these processes for yourself, which is one of the beauties of running your own business. But also it can take a while to kind of figure out like how the format is going to work best for you and for your business and for your time. So I love making the podcast. The last one, which I'll link, I guess, somewhere. You can find it on our YouTube channel. Our last podcast episode it's been a while because it was really, I pre-recorded it and then I edited it and then, I inserted all these quotes and stuff that I talked about and I kind of made it a production because that's what I wanted it to be. But it just takes so much time and energy, and it took me like 2 weeks to make that podcast, which I have a lot of things to do and I don't have enough time. I can't just put all of my time into making podcasts, unfortunately. Maybe someday, but for now, we're gonna start doing this new format. The other thing you'll notice if you go to our YouTube channel, which you're watching this on our YouTube channel, so just click in and look at our other videos when I'm done with this one, is we've been doing a lot of live streams lately. It's been a great format for me, and we've been talking a lot about our new launch product, the Underground Nexus, which is super exciting. So you can go and watch some videos about that. I'm not going to talk about that too much today, though of course it is kind of a big part of what we do at the Cloud Underground, especially right now. So it's our main kind of product. It's a cloud native developer toolkit, essentially. So you can read more about that. There's a link to our landing page with all of the information about the Underground Nexus in the description to this video. So go ahead and scroll down there and you can learn about that more for yourself. Or again, like I said, you can watch some of our videos. Anyway, so new format. Here we are. Live streaming. I'm going to try and do a live stream podcast every Thursday. So if you'll remember from the last episode that I made, again, it's been a little while, but that last episode was it was the first of a series that I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to continue that series. Even though the format's changing, I still want you guys to all get to know Cloud Underground, and that's what the series is about, getting to know Cloud Underground a little bit better. So our first episode was outlining the first of our three kind of foundational pillars that everything we do here is based around. And the first one was first principles. So you can go and watch that episode. I talked a lot about first principles. This episode today, we're going to talk about cloud native. That's one of the other foundational principles for Cloud Underground. Next week, we're going to talk about that third piece of the puzzle, which is essentially creating the life that you want for yourself. If you want to know what that means, you can tune in next week for our next week's podcast. Also, I should definitely remind you, if you're not already subscribed to this channel, go ahead and subscribe. That way you don't miss an episode, you don't miss a live stream. You can also watch our Cloud Underground radio station, which is live streaming 24/7 radio. It's all royalty-free music, so if you're, I don't know, doing your own live streaming and you want some tracks in the background or whatever, you can pull that up and just have some music playing. That's all going to be, royalty-free, copyright-free. So it's actually a really cool station. We've found some really awesome music out there that's basically free to use. So that's what we've been using, and shout out to all of those amazing creators. You can go to our radio live stream to learn more about it. So anyway, Today we're going to be talking about cloud native. Cloud native. It's really complex. It's also, actually, before I get too into this, I am going to hop over to the YouTube channel really fast. Make sure all my volumes are down. Just because if there is anybody watching, I just want to be able to see and chat just in case. Okay, anyway. So thanks for bearing with me for just a second there. Alrighty. So anyway, today we're going to talk about cloud native. It's a really simple, like straightforward idea, but it's also like incredibly complex. So I'm not going to go like too into detail. As you all well know, I am not a software engineer by trade. I obviously now run this cloud native company. And so I have learned a lot about these sorts of things, but my background is actually, I have an English degree. I'm surrounded by amazing, super talented developers, which is why I'm able to like be the CEO of this company. But again, a lot of this is like me learning and understanding myself. And I will also say that probably contributed a little to why like I procrastinated so much making this second episode, because cloud native is such a, again, it's very straightforward. It's very kind of self-explanatory, but it's also super complex because you're like, okay, cloud native. What is the cloud? The cloud is essentially being able to access servers via the internet so that you can be anywhere and access your data that's like on-prem somewhere, but not where where you are. You can access it using the internet, right? So that in and of itself is a little bit of like a ephemeral, like weird concept if you're not, embroiled in like the developer space. And then, being cloud native just means that this technology essentially was inherently developed to be able to be accessed from the cloud, right? So yeah, cloud native, that's what it is, but it's also like so much more complex than that. So, okay, a couple resources that I kind of came across to talk about cloud native. And shout out to Randy in the Facebook group. Randy is our CIO, and he is constantly posting all kinds of super helpful and super informative information in the Cloud Underground Facebook group, the Cloud Native Engineers. You can also go join that group in the link in the description of this video. But so I actually kind of started out there today when I was like, okay, how am I going to talk about cloud native? I went and searched around on our Facebook group page because I knew that Randy talks about this a lot. We talk about it a lot. It's a big part of what we do. And I was like, I can probably find some good sources there. So if you want to learn more about this kind of stuff, you can definitely start in our Facebook group. But anyway, so I came across... of course, when you're talking about cloud native, you really can't talk about it without talking about the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, which is essentially a nonprofit. And here, I'm going to switch my view so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Okay, so I know it's kind of small. Again, when I'm done with this video, I will edit the description to link all of these resources that I'm talking about as well. But for now, you can kind of just see it on my screen. So this is their charter, which you can find on GitHub. You can also, find it essentially on their website. But so according to the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, which is kind of like the cloud native experts, essentially, the foundation's mission is to make cloud native computing ubiquitous. The CNCF Cloud Native definition says, cloud native technologies empower organizations to build and run scalable applications in modern dynamic environments such as public, private, and hybrid clouds. Containers, service meshes, microservices, immutable infrastructure, and declarative APIs exemplify this approach. These techniques enable loosely coupled systems that are resilient, manageable, and observable. Combined with robust automation, they allow engineers to make high-impact changes frequently and predictably with minimal toil. The Cloud Native Computing Foundation seeks to drive adoption of this paradigm by fostering and sustaining an ecosystem of open source, vendor neutral product projects. We democratize state-of-the-art patterns to make these innovations accessible for everyone. So I love all of this actually because it so clearly like supports essentially our mission as well, and what we do supports the mission of the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, because everything that we do is like developed for a cloud native, and to help people have more access to cloud native technologies and being able to create your own cloud native apps, run a cloud native business. So everything we do with the Underground Nexus, which is that cloud native development toolkit that I've been talking about, is in support essentially of this mission. If you go to the Cloud Underground website, I'm gonna pull that up really fast. Of course, our home banner is disrupting the cloud one container at a time, which I think aligns with that idea of like democratization of, these, of this concept, of this philosophy. It's like it should be accessible to everyone, and that's a big part of why we are doing what we're doing, is because we want it to be accessible to everyone. Okay. To my other view here, and back to my notes, which you guys don't necessarily need to see. Anyway, so again, containers are part of this, APIs, all of these things, and of course, everything that we do is very container based. Everything. We have our on-prem infrastructure here, but we can host many, many users who can then essentially like tap into our on-prem and host, their toolkit that they can access via a browser that we will host, here in our data center, is accessible to anyone, anywhere in the world. So, and then I guess another thing that's potentially worth mentioning is that this whole idea of cloud native, if you're like, what is it, whatever, it was essentially pioneered by, these major like tech giants right now, like Netflix, Spotify, Uber, Netflix and Spotify through like their streaming platforms. Of course, you don't have that video file or whatever, you don't own it, but you can go to their platform and stream it. Same with, Spotify for music. Also, Uber is essentially a cloud native company, and Airbnb as well. So it's essentially, you can post your rideshare or whatever. You can post your house. All of these things just like give control back to like the users in a certain way. I mean, obviously, Uber has been criticized for being exploitative of its workers, so I'm not gonna like defend them or anything or like promote them, but I will say it like it's just like this contractor model, right, where it's like you can work when you want to, where you want to, and same thing with Airbnb. You can list your house, you can list a room. You don't have to if you don't want to. It's like if you want to, it's there and it's accessible to you, and you don't have to have the platform. They provide the platform that you can then just use to sell your services. So these cloud native, again, it does in a lot of ways like democratize these concepts, democratize the internet, and whatnot. So anyway, of course, because our partner YouTube channel essentially is the Ask NATO channel, and NATO is a part of the Cloud Underground, I asked NATO what he thought of cloud native, and NATO loves his metaphors, and he used the metaphor that cloud native is essentially like a grocery store, for developers. You go in, you get what you want, you get what you need. There's a ton of different tools out there. You can piece them all together in a way that makes sense for your product, for your business, and essentially leave what you don't. So there's so many different companies out there that are providing cloud native tools that you can go and like, again, you can piece all of these tools together to create like your own specific tool. Like that's a lot of what we've done with the Underground Nexus, is using a lot of compiling these other tools so that you don't have to, so that you can have this like really unique experience that makes development so much easier. We do a lot of that compilation essentially for you, doing the research, finding the tools, and putting them in a really nice package so that you can just come and use what you need, essentially. Leave what you don't. The other beautiful part of Cloud Native is it really fosters community. And I think the Cloud Native Computing Foundation promotes that in a lot of ways as well. Again, it's like anyone can be a part of it. It's a big part of it is just to make it more accessible to everyone, so it's not being dominated by a few particular giant companies that are doing all of the work. No, it's a lot of it is open source. A lot of it is, and again, like the Underground Nexus, you can DIY that solution for yourself. You can go on our GitHub and pull the Docker files and create your own essentially your own Underground Nexus, or you can come to us and we can host it for you and provide additional services to help you develop, to help you navigate these cloud native tools. That's a lot of what we're here for. So anyway, it's a super cool thing. I think that's the main things I wanted to say and touch on about cloud native. Again, it's very complex. It's simple yet complex. So take that as you will. And there's plenty of resources out there if you want to learn more about Cloud Native. I would definitely encourage you to go to the Cloud Native Computing Foundation's website. Here, I'll show you that real fast. This is it, cncf.io. There you go, Cloud Native Computing Foundation. So anyway, thanks everyone for being here today with me, for joining me on my very first live streamed Cloud Underground podcast. And thanks for being here. Like, subscribe, come say, subscribe, come catch me every Thursday. I'll be doing this. Next week, we're going to be talking about the third pillar of the Cloud Underground philosophy that our whole business is kind of based around, which is creating the lifestyle of your dreams, taking back control of your life, essentially. What does that mean? Well, come next week and we'll talk more about it. Cool. Thanks everyone for being here. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching afterwards, whether you're watching now or later. It's all